Were the Salem witch trials caused by mouldy bread? The Salem witch trials were triggered by allegations from individuals known as the afflicted. Afflicted individuals claimed to be being tormented by witches and would often display a range of unusual and alarming symptoms. These included writhing as though in physical pain, making strange sounds, and claiming to be visited and tormented by invisible ghostly spectres who resembled members of the local community. The mouldy bread theory, otherwise known as the ergot theory, was put forward by Linda Caporael in 1976. She claimed that the unusual behaviours of the afflicted during the Salem witch trials could be explained as symptoms of something called ergotism. Ergot is a fungus that can grow on rye. If consumed, the person can become very ill and experience something called ergotism. This can take on two forms: gangrenous ergotism and convulsive ergotism. An individual suffering with convulsive ergotism often experiences a range of symptoms, such as delirium, hallucinations, painful contorted limbs, convulsions, and muscle spasms. Caporael's theory was that it was this convulsive ergotism caused by consuming the ergot fungus that led to the unusual behaviours and testimonies of the afflicted during the Salem witch trials. This theory has become one of the most popular explanations for the Salem witch trials. As LSD is produced by an ergot alkaloid, you can see why this might have been a very appealing theory when it came out in 1976. So, while historians had quickly debunked Caporael's theory, it still went viral across 1970s media, whose audiences revelled in the wild idea that the Salem witch trials could essentially just be the result of a bad LSD trip. Even today, the idea that the Salem witch trials could be the result of psychedelics is undoubtedly an interesting one. A quick Google search will still find Caporael's theory widely discussed as a possible flashy explanation for the Salem affliction. So, were the witch trials actually caused by mouldy bread? The short answer is no, they were not. The theory was very quickly debunked by historians and scholars of the Salem witch trials. In fact, only a few months later, the journal Science, the same journal that the theory was initially published in, published a rebuttal from Nicholas Spanos and Jack Gottlieb, who stated that the available evidence does not support the hypothesis that ergot poisoning played a role in the Salem crisis. The general features of the crisis did not resemble an ergotism epidemic. The symptoms of the afflicted girls and of the other witnesses were not those of convulsive ergotism, and the abrupt ending of the crisis and the remorse and second thoughts of those who judged and testified against the accused can be explained without recourse to the ergotism hypothesis. One reason for this is that families in 17th century Salem would have all been consuming the same rye sauce. However, it was only ever one or two individuals per household recorded as displaying afflicted behaviours. If the source of bread that individuals had been consuming was actually poisonous, we would expect to see record of widespread infection rather than just isolated cases of temporary symptoms. Also, having a pre-existing vitamin A deficiency is what leads individuals to develop convulsive ergotism instead of gangrenous ergotism. For this reason, medical cases of convulsive ergotism have often been found in communities who are already seen to be lacking in this nutrient. Vitamin A is found in fish and dairy, and given that Salem famously had a thriving fishing and farming community at the time, it would be highly unlikely that this many individuals would have had a vitamin A deficiency. Beyond this, however, the symptoms of the afflicted simply didn't seem to match those of convulsive ergotism. In many cases, the convulsions of the afflicted were brief outbursts that would often occur in response to the accused witch entering their presence. These convulsions could then very abruptly end, signalling that they may have been more likely a response to social cues rather than symptoms of a physical illness. There are also records at the time that suggest that individuals already had suspicions that these symptoms were being faked and that the afflicted were not actually ill. An example is the testimony of Daniel Elliott, who describes the claims of one of the afflicted girls, admitting that she did it for sport. It's important to understand that attempts to provide single explanations for something as complex as the Salem witch trials are likely to be either very much oversimplifying or leaving out crucial historical information. So no, the witch trials were not caused by mouldy bread.